That's right. Okay, we are now joined by George Mason head coach Tony Skinn and student athletes Jared Billups and Jalen Haynes. George Mason has advanced to the semifinals tomorrow to face the winner of Dayton and St. Joseph's. We will start with an opening statement from Coach Skinn, take questions for the student athletes, and then questions for Coach. Coach?
Yeah, first and foremost, great win. It's our 25th win this season, and really proud of these guys. They find a way to piss me off at halftime all the time. They press that button, and then they press their own button when it comes to tenacity, and I think we saw that. That second half was phenomenal, obviously led by Jared Billups. From a defensive standpoint, I say it all the time, I think I get way too much credit. When you have a first-teamer like Jalen Haynes, when you have the Defensive Player of the Year like Jared Billups, when you have an all-conference guy like Darius Maddox, they make me look good, and I'm just proud of these guys, and one game at a time.
Thank you, Coach. We'll take questions for Jared and Jalen. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get you the mic. Say who the question is for and your name and affiliation. We'll start with Patrick.
What? Okay, here we go.
There we go.
Go ahead.
So anyway, the foul trouble coming out in the second half. What were kind of your thoughts having to sit as much as you did in the first half and trying to be as disruptive as you could early in the second?
My coach is he always gonna let me be me. He knows what he's getting himself into. He be having to calm me down sometimes, and it's my fault though. But I was just gonna play my game regardless, like try to get the win.
We'll go second row here.
Joe Szymanski, Giant Killer, Jalen, what's going through your mind there? We have that monster dunk in the second half. Like, what's going through your mind when you try and pull off something like that?
It was kind of a broken play. I think I broke the play off, and I lost the ball, and I just tried to make a play. So that's basically what was going through my mind.
Jake.
Yeah, down here, guys. Jake Rom, DC News Now. This is for either one of you guys. GW already playing a game in this A10 tournament. Did it take a little bit for you guys to kind of warm up to the atmosphere here at Capital One? And what was that first half like for you guys as, they took the lead in going at half?
I think they were kind of used to the atmosphere and the basketball. It's a little more pumped up. But I think, me personally, I was ready to play. But we just had to get into a flow, honestly. And then once we got into our flow, you see the outcome. So,
yeah, just to piggyback off him, we didn't play in like 4 days against another team, so we were just looking for a rhythm. We stayed in the game by scoring the ball, obviously. So that wasn't the deal. The biggest deal was just getting stops on the defense end.
Second row on the right.
Brian Hyam, Fourth Estate. Jared, there was a play that I remember that Gio got fouled, and you went up to him and just started hyping him up. You seemed to be a lot more hyped up in the moment than he was. What's it like trying to embrace that role off the bench where you're not just the Defensive Player of the Year, but you are trying to bring that energy onto the court and your teammates?
Everyone on our team has a job, and I feel like that's my job, communicating to these guys, getting these guys ready to be at their best. I want him confident. I want all my teammates confident at all times to do what they do. Dunk that. That's what I'm telling them. But, yeah.
We'll go to Dave in the back.
Jalen, Dave Preston, WTOP Radio here in Washington. 24 points, 10 of 17 shooting. What do you feel you were able to take advantage of? What sort of things allowed you to have this evening's game?
Just playing with a pace, So, Tony talked to me before the game, just save my energy and, be efficient. So that was the goal, to be aggressive but also be efficient.
We'll go in the first row on the right.
David Korn, A10 Talk. Jalen, can you just talk about your sort of matchup down low with Rafael Castro and how you're able to sort of really come out on top of that today?
You know, he's a good player. You know, he's on the top of the scouting program for sure. So, you know, just offensively, the plan for me was just go at him, use my fakes, and get good finishes around the rim. And I feel like I did that well tonight.
Go third row on this side.
Brian of By George. Billups, you didn't miss a bucket today, also went 4 for 5 from the line. Is there something that you saw in the film or maybe in the previous 2 times you played them that allowed you to be so aggressive?
I was watching film all last night. Their game plan, especially at their place, was to try to make me score the ball, so I came in with the mindset, I got to be aggressive, and that was the outcome today.
We'll go in the middle, second row.
Matt Moderno, believe in DMV hoops. Jared, only 4 or 5 from the free throw line today. Did your coach talk to you about that missed free throw yet?
No, he knows I'm already hard enough on myself. I was mad I missed that free throw, but yeah.
I was mad you missed that layup. That should have been
So
an and
I had
one.
to-
That was
I had to flop for the foul.
Jesus. That was awful. You guys know the layup I'm talking about, right? Okay.
My teammates was laughing at me.
We'll take one last one for the student athletes in the back, towards the middle.
John Titel from Hoops HD for Jared. You're not the first Billups to do well in the postseason. Do you think there might be some sort of clutch family gene at work?
That's a great question. Absolutely.
All right, you guys are good to go. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.
This me as well.
No. Questions for Coach? Patrick in the front.
Sorry, Tony, not so fast.
It's all good, Pat.
Was that first 13, 14 minutes of the second half the best blend of offense and defense you guys have played this season?
Yeah, I mean, that was phenomenal. I can't wait to go back and watch that tape because I feel it in my bones, and I just think of certain situations where I think Braden got a deflection, then he got a block, and then what he does every once in a while, he got another block, and next thing you know, the game just completely changed. You know, KD's steal, Jared's denial, all those things that just kind of inject our identity into the game. It was phenomenal to watch. You know, I think we had an 18-point lead, and I was looking at the score, hoping we could extend that to 20. We'll be watching film on some of our situational awareness and decision-making because it's a luxury to be up that much. But if you're going to win 3 games in 3 days, you've got to be able to capitalize when you can. And, you know, again, that was a defensive effort we've seen all season long. You know, these guys, I don't know what they say to each other at halftime, but whatever it is, it's pretty good.
And was the dichotomy first half to second half just the latest illustration of what Billups does for you ultimately?
Yeah, it's, you know, Coach Steve Kern just said something in the locker room, and I just looked at him like, I know this, but his quote was, "You're never going to get another player like Jared Billups." And in my coaching career, I got to agree with him, and I say it every day. And so he's just phenomenal. I'm happy for him because he was able to just put together a good, obviously the defensive part, we know what he's going to give us. But every once in a while, man, when you play as hard as he plays, you know, God rewards you offensively, and I think that's what happened tonight.
Go to David in the front.
David Korn, A10 Talk. Coach, I was wondering if you could talk a bit more about some of those second half adjustments, like you talked about. You got out to that big lead. Just what sort of were you talking about at halftime, and what went into that?
Yeah, I mean, it was unfortunately the first 20 minutes looked like our first 20 minutes at Richmond. I think from a defensive standpoint, when we guard the paint, when we do what we do defensively, there's not a lot of teams that can score on us in the half court. However, when we're passive and taking away the threes like we did, it was, you know, it was like open gym. Just shoot the 3. You're not going to make it. And they made 7 threes. They made 7 threes. We made 2 threes. I'm sorry, was it? Yeah, I think 7 threes. We made 2 threes. And, I mean, that's plus 15 right there. We were lucky to go into halftime down 4. We made that adjustment, take away their threes. They can't dribble and get past us in our paint. And we made that adjustment. Our sense of urgency, you know, kind of just took the air out of their confidence that they had in the first half. And that was ball game. I think with maybe 8 minutes to go, they only scored 8 points. And so, you know, again, that's kind of what we've been. That's kind of who we are. And a lot of times, you know, when the offense and the defense is clicking, you get, you know, a 15-point win in a conference tournament.
Goes second row, third from the aisle.
Coach, talk about the show from Mason Nation today. It's been a long time since this fan base has had a group like your guys are to root for something like this. How important was that for you guys, especially in the start of the second half, to feed off of what that crowd was giving
phenomenal. You know, again, I don't want to talk about 2006, but there's nostalgia for everybody, including myself, when I'm in this building. And, you know, our guys feed off of it. I've been saying it all year long when I took the job. Patriot pressure was a real thing. And I think tonight, you know, it showed that Patriot pressure travels. We're going to need that tomorrow. We're going to need that on Sunday. But it's a major part of why we are successful. We were really good at home. But, you know, without our six-man, you know, you don't win 25 games. And that's just something that we've got to continue to build on. But I'm proud of these guys and, you know, just happy for the program. But we got a lot of work to do.
Stay in the same row.
Christian Stovia, Fourth Estate. Coach, I've noticed that the whole season you put a lot more trust in K.D. Johnston each game, and you've helped him develop, I've noticed. And tonight he scored, he stole, made amazing passes, and as the game went on, you could just see him smiling each minute. What is that like for you, and how much you take pride in being proud of him?
Well, you want me to be honest?
Yeah.
I'm
be
going to go
brutal.
to heaven because I'm coaching K.D. Johnson. That's my hall pass. You know, K.D. Johnson, I knew what I was getting when I recruited him. I wasn't scared of it. You know, we've got some similarities, not a lot, but we've got some. You know, his toughness. And you're talking about a guy that, I mean, he's played at the highest level. He played at Auburn, and Auburn's been pretty damn good the last 3 years. He's a fan favorite. His compassion for the game. I have never seen him dunk the basketball in practice like that. But I think that just kind of shows you what type of maniac he is sometimes. But again, when you have a guy like that on the floor, there's a reason we recruited to that. The Patriot pressure last year, I think from a personnel standpoint, we were okay. We're actually pretty good in the league. We're number one defensively in our league. But I wanted to recruit to a little bit more than that and not just scream Patriot pressure. And to go get K.D. Johnson, to go get Big Gio, we've got a little bit more length, a little bit more toughness. And, you know, again, when you're putting together halves of, you know, 4 minutes, 8 minutes, 12 minutes, and you're looking at the rim and you can't find a way to score, a major piece of that is because you've got, you know, I'll call, you know, Jared the Batman, and I'll call KD, you know, the Robin. It's just a tough group to score against, and we're going to need that.
Same row.
Brian Hyam, Fourth Estate. With this being your second A10 tournament, what's it like to flip the switch, not only for you, but trying to prepare the team from regular season play to A10 tournament play?
Yeah, I mean, it's a major part of our message, you know, even in the summertime. I say it all the time, there's multiple parts of a season. You know, you've got your preseason when you're prepping and just going through certain things, learning a lot, learning each other. And then you got your non-conference, which is our second part of our season. These guys have heard me say it all season long, and we've spoken it into existence. And then you get into conference play, and you're just learning so many different lessons along the way. We learned some pretty hard lessons in non-conference early on, but this group, you know, stayed together. You know, the coaching staff did a phenomenal job in just managing just different egos, different mindsets. I got a bunch of seniors that, you know, this is it for them. This is their last go-round. And to get that type of commitment from a group like that, it doesn't happen, not in this portal age, not in the NIL age. And I'm just lucky to be coaching a group that, you know, at the end of the day, they're giving so much into themselves. I mean, you talk about a guy like Jared Billups. I hate to keep talking about him, but he hasn't started in 20-something games. And I've left Woody and Zach in there on purpose because we need those guys. And in certain games, those guys have stepped up. You know, Woody Newton hit 8 threes at St. Louis. If he doesn't have that game, we don't win that game. Zach Anderson, multiple games at Dayton, at Bonaventure. And as good as those guys have been, the sacrifice from Jared Billups is a major piece of that. And so, again, different parts of our season, and I'm just glad that we put the work in early on to be able to get a double bye and then to be able to come in here and get this win. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, so I'm proud of these guys.
Jake.
Coach, obviously the first game in the A10 tournament for you guys. What's the next 18 hours or so like as you guys get ready for the semifinals tomorrow?
Obviously the coaches are going to sit back and watch Dayton and St. Joe's, two teams that we know a little bit about. We didn't get a chance to play them twice, but once was enough. And so we'll go back, we'll prep a little bit, and obviously wait on the outcome of this game. Us coaches, it's the tournament, man. There's so much you can do, and it's not. It's a little bit of what they do, but it's a lot about who they are. And so we'll be able to grind film as a staff. I'm going to be up all night doing what I need to do just to get these guys prepared. But more than likely, we won't see these guys tonight. We'll see them in the morning. These guys are junkies. They'll watch the game for themselves. But we're going to have to maximize what we need to know about both teams first thing in the morning. But rest is a major component of what we do. And I got to make sure these guys, get their rest.
All right, we'll take the last one from Daniel on the aisle.
Daniel Frank from A10 Talk. Coach, 1 week ago tonight, you guys were in Henrico to watch the women's program, and then tonight they returned the favor, and we're sitting front row for you guys. How much is that connection between the two programs mean to you, and what does it mean for the university as a whole to have this kind of success for both programs?
It means for me personally, it means the world to me. This is my alma mater. This place gave me an opportunity a long time ago. I didn't know what that would mean, years later. But to be able to have that type of, blessing, it means everything to me. And then just our leadership in general, from our president to our athletic director, we're all feeding off of each other. And again, Vanessa Blair Lewis, she's leading those young ladies at a high level. And to just have that, it means the world. I joked around with her and I told her, she's got a little bit of a bye week. She could come sit on the bench and help me coach tonight. She didn't do that, but I saw her in the stands. And so credit to those ladies. They'll be playing in the NCAA tournament next week. And, it's a good feeling. But, again, at the end of the day, I'm crazy enough to I want consistency. And this year and what we're doing we're not done. But this is why I have the job.
Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, we are now joined by George Washington head coach Chris Caputo and student athletes Christian Jones and Rafael Castro. We'll start with an opening statement from Coach, go to questions for the student athletes, and then questions for Coach.
Yeah, hey, want to give George Mason credit. I thought, coming out in the second half, obviously, Billups is such a great defender. I don't know that I've really been around, and I've coached some good defenders and guys that were, Durant Scott was ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and may have some others as well. But man, I thought he's about as good as a defender as there is. And then Haynes is like kind of equally as good as he is on offense, and he's just kind of reminds me a little bit of Jai Lewis, who we coached there. But he's a good defender. He really holds up in a lot of different ways, and so I thought those two guys really dominated the game, and I want to give them credit. I thought we did a great job in the first half. I don't know that anybody shot like whatever we shot in the first half, 62% and 63% from three against them. And I'm, obviously, Tony's going to be on those guys then about being uncharacteristically scored on the way they were in the first half. Starting Billups in the second half came out with just an edge and a force defensively, athletically. That's why they've had a great year. And we had a couple of shots at the rim that just you couldn't. They needed to go down for us to get some pressure to them, which is where we've had some success in the backcourt. And they didn't go down, and then you're kind of in the open court, and they were able to make a few shots, throw a few threes in there in the mix, and 12-0 run to start the half obviously was no good for us. And we just couldn't get quite close enough again. But again, I want to give them credit, and I thought our guys played a really good first half. And again, there's a reason why they tied for the league title. So, veteran team, well coached, really good defense. Historically good defense, and it was on display in the second half. And I hope we're not done playing. I think we're probably close to some of these other tournaments, and I don't know if we're. I wouldn't say that we're in, but I don't think that's the case. But I think we're close, and we'd be excited about competing. I think that'd be a logical step for our program here, and as we build it. So disappointed in the second half, but again, really good opponent and good fight from our group. So with that, I'll pass it off to the student athletes.
Questions for the student athletes? We'll start with Patrick.
Raphael, Patrick Stevens with the Washington Post. What was it kind of like being in the middle of that run that they had at the start of the second half, even really first 10 minutes or so? Was it just sort of a situation where it felt like nothing was going right in any way?
Just trying to stay as connected as we can as a group. That's where in the huddles we just talk amongst ourselves on what we could change and what to do right.
Go to Dave in the back.
Dave Preston, WTOP Radio in Washington. Question for Christian. The third time that you guys played them this winter, what different things, what tweaks did you see on their end this evening? What sort of things did they show you this evening maybe that you didn't see the first two times?
I mean, they just pressured the ball in the second half, and then we didn't have an answer for it. We huddled with each other, and we tried to adjust, but it just didn't work our way at the end.
Go to Jake in the second row.
Jake Rom, DC News Now. For either of you guys, what adjustments did you see from George Mason from the first half to the second half? It looked like defensively they kind of chomped down on you guys, at least from the three-point line.
Yeah, I'll say they definitely picked it up defensively, but along with that, we didn't really take care of the ball in the second half as much as we should have, so that played to their hand, and that ultimately led to transition points.
Go third row.
Ben Fattown, the GW Hatchet. This is for either of you guys. Both of your first years playing at GW, if you could just reflect on the season you've had as well as for the team as a whole.
I mean, it definitely felt good to be out there going off my redshirt year, playing with these guys like Gerald, Sean, bringing them in, playing with all of them because I was watching last year, so it was just an honor to play with everybody, even Slim. Just playing with him, it was just an honor. Yeah, that's what we call him, Slim. Yeah, Raphael.
Go right next to him in this third row.
Liam Omerku, GW Basketball Insiders, Department of Hoops. I'm just a pretty similar question. I'm just kind of curious. You guys both, obviously, Christian, you redshirted last year. Raphael, you didn't play a bunch at Providence. I mean, if you had a message to yourself a year ago, kind of compared to where you're at now, I mean, just kind of personally, how do you feel like you guys have developed in this past year at GW?
I feel like this could relate to both of us. I say the message is stay the course.
You know, going through adversity, it's easy to just, you know, get off track and get involved in some other stuff. But ultimately, just keeping our head down and staying in the gym and finally getting the opportunity that we deserve.
No, yeah, to piggyback on that, you know, like Redshirn, like the coaches were on me too, so I appreciate them last year too, like and now and like even the players from last year, they were on me too to stay the course like he said. So like I appreciate everybody that was like with me on my side and stuff like that.
First row on your right.
Hey guys, Abe Rothstein, WRGW. I'm just curious, both of you have some eligibility left. Kind of looking ahead towards next year, kind of where do you guys, see the team growing? How do you guys, look to improve yourselves also going into next year as well?
I'd say we just really take this day by day, and it starts with tomorrow, getting back healthy and ultimately just meeting as a group and seeing what next year holds.
Any other questions for the student athletes? Okay, you guys are good to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now take questions for Coach. We'll start with Patrick.
Chris, as you're watching those first couple minutes of the
Yeah.
second half unfold, I mean, did it feel like there was just no real answer in those moments, or does it kind of go back to a couple of those missed layups and whatnot you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, I mean, you knew they were going to pick up their defensive edge after the first half. Starting Billups, putting him on Christian, Haynes on Slim. All right, right now you've eliminated 1-5 pick and rolls because Billups can't be screened. There's just no, so now trying to go with the 2-guard lineup, 2 point guards, just so like whoever he's not guarding would be in middle pick and roll a little bit, But the ball got, I think, 2 or 3 times, like in the pocket, close to the rim. Didn't score. I don't know if we turned it over one time in that situation as well, but you can't, against a defense that good with the way they're bringing it at that moment, if you can get the ball 2 feet from the rim, you got to be able to finish those plays to just get your defense set. And then, we turned them over 8 times in the first half. Like we did a good job pressuring their guards, but we can't do that if we can't finish those plays. And so, you try to hoard your timeouts as best you can. And, I don't know when I called one, but, fairly early for me to try to stop it. But, yeah, again, like I think for us, given our offensive limits at times, getting the ball to Rafael Castro 2 feet from the rim, like in the middle of that stretch, is about as good as we can do. We just need him to finish those plays. And they didn't. And then again, to their credit, like then they make a couple threes, and all of a sudden, you're down 8, and you're fighting, you're clawing your way back. So we didn't stop fighting, but like at the game at their place, we led big. They came back, and then it's really nip and tuck. That's a game that's winnable either way. At our place, we found something late that we we couldn't find necessarily. Maybe we cut it to 10. We needed him to miss a 3. But to then take the lead late, and so I thought, okay, like maybe we can settle in and get into that situation again, but we couldn't do it. So, and again, credit them. Billups was fantastic, and then Haynes is like equally as good. So those guys are really good.
Jake in the second row.
Yeah, Coach, you kind of talked a little bit about it already, about the start of that second half, but what did you see from them coming out of the half that was different than maybe what you guys saw in the first?
Well, just a minute you put Billups in the starting lineup, you know what's happening, right? Like they're gonna, they give up 63% in the first half to us. They're gonna bring the heat and try to energize their group with that level of with him as a defender, and he's, again, I can't say enough. He's exceptional, and so again, you kind of know what's coming, and you're hoping that you can find ways to combat it. And like I said, I mean, I just think like, hey, if we need a couple of those bunnies to fall, and I don't know if there's contact or not on those. Like I don't know, we'd have to look at it and see if. But it's just hard. They're so athletic. They're very hard to officiate. They're so athletic, so physical. It's not easy to officiate those guys either. So, I was hoping that we could have had a little bit more of a lead at the end of the first half, because that could have, maybe softened the blow a little bit as you knew they're going to bring it there in the second half.
Go first row, second seat.
Hey, Coach Jay Brosstein, WRGW. I saw a little towards one of the timeouts. Both you and Coach Lee seemed irate, and it seemed like the second time this year that a Mason player has said something to you or the bench, and you've gotten
Yeah,
pretty heated. What was that?
Katie Johnson said something on the bench. Hey, listen, it is what it is. It's all good. Like, we're all, I want to make sure, like, everybody understands, like, we're not going to just talk to people however we want to talk to people, so. And no one's going to talk to me like that, so, or anyone on my staff, so.
Dave in the back.
Chris, regardless of whether you guys play in any tournaments
Yeah.
after this evening, 21 wins, most in
Yeah.
almost a decade, 500 in the conference. Your thoughts, even though it's probably tough right now for you to see the strides that this program made this winter, what are you thinking about the progress that you guys made?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got a sense of where their program is. They've done an incredible job. I was there, so I know where they're at. And I know where we are and where we started. And, we finally have what, a number of the different programs in the league have now, in this league have, which is institutional commitment to being successful in basketball. And that was not the case for a long time at GW, unfortunately. There were other priorities. And that's why it looked like the way it looked for a long time. And it doesn't now. We have President in Ellen Granberg, a board of trustees, people in our upper administration, our athletic director, who are just understand, okay, here's the gaps in where we need to be, and we're trying to fill those gaps. And I think for me, what I've tried to do is to, in the interim, before we've gotten to this point, is do the best I could to elevate the program, without some of those things. And now as we get towards having those things, I think we can look back and say, hey, we've kind of done that as a staff, get to 21 wins, 2 out of the 3 years, either a winning record in the league or a 500 record in the league. Now having, I think still probably the best net we've had in this 10-year stretch or whatever, or since it's 2019 when it started. Ken Palm's, in the lower hundred, like all those things are positive. And now I think we're positioned institutionally to take another step for the university and for the program to elevate, what we can do here. And that's exciting. And I think it's, it's something that in the Atlantic 10 you just simply have to have, because basketball means so much to so many of the programs in this league. Again, I was at George Mason. I know how important basketball is there. I just saw, their contingency of people back there, and many of which I know, and it means a lot. It means a lot to them. We know how much it means to the Daytons, to the VCUs, to the St. Louis's, to the St. Joe's, the history of those places, the Davidsons. I mean, you see what Curry's just doing for them. The Bonnies, my good friend Woj, he gave up a nice paycheck to go up there and go to work for them. Loyola Chicago, I can go on and on. What LaSalle did to their arena, right? And if I'm missing somebody, then they'll get mad at me or whatever. But you see it. It's tangible in this league that people are prioritizing the basketball programs, and I think for the first time in a long time, that'll be the case here at GW. And I'm glad that we've shown the progress as a staff to be the guys that, we can do that here,
Go third row in the middle.
Liam Umberku, Department of Hoops. I'm just kind of curious, this is your third year as a head coach. Maybe any personal reflections, anything you've learned this year, from coaching this team? I know kind of each team each year is a little different.
Yeah, really enjoyed this group. Did a couple of things different this year than I did the first 2 years. But those things are, some of that is technical in nature, but that's not the stuff. That stuff can change, like how you play defense, how you play offense. But I think we're coming into our own a little bit with the culture of the program and the way we're operating. And I think that's where you've seen the consistency of performance. Like we had a couple of, we had a bad half today. We had a clunker at Loyola Chicago. Other than that, and I was thinking about it this morning when I was sort of reflecting on, hey, we had 21 wins. It's pretty good. I go, damn, if Raphael makes one free throw at George Mason, we got 22. If we deflect the ball at American and either foul or the guy misses the three, American's NCAA tournament team, that's 23. It's pretty damn good. And it's been that way, basically all year. We might have a bad half or here or there, but we've had a consistency of play that I think has come from the quality of people in the locker room and on the staff, support we're getting institutionally, and the culture we're developing. We still have more stuff to do, but I feel very confident in, like, hey, what we're looking for this spring as we look to the portal, obviously, and like everyone else, and you know, what we think we can build upon. So that's been exciting and fun. This was not a ready-made situation, and I feel like, you know, looking back, I'd be upset if it were 3 years in and we're like, man, we're nowhere closer to being where we should be. I look back and go, hey, you know, we're in pretty good shape. You know, got some all-conference level players returning, got 20-plus wins, potentially in postseason, like all those things. I think in year 3, especially after kind of having a bad 2 months with injuries last year, I think we're on track pretty good right now. And yet there's a gap that we have to meet too. So we're not saying, hey, we just do the same shit and that'll just work out better. No, we have to elevate, but I think we're on the right path with everything we got going on.
Go to your right on the aisle.
Jared Terry for Inside DC Hoops.
Hi,
Coach,
Jared.
you mentioned you know, potential postseason tournament.
Yeah.
Just kind of let us into your mind when you look in the next couple months.
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons of focusing on this team for a few more games
Yeah.
versus, you know, turning the page and building next year's team?
Yeah, I don't look. I think if we've told the CBI no, so we're not going to do that. But if we could get into the NIT or the Crown, I just think, again, another step for our program to play in the postseason for the first time since 2017. Well, 17 was the CBI. No offense to the CBI. I think it works for people. But certainly if you're in the Atlantic 10 and you can play in the NIT or now this new tournament, I just think you have to do it. I was part of a team that lost in the NIT championship game. Crazy call by Jamie Lucky, who's here today. He I think my GW guys will pull up the clip and probably post it all over Twitter. Him and I joke about it all the time. It was like, you know, we rebounded the ball, and it was like, oh, we won the NIT. We're going to go hang out in New York tonight. And then Jamie came flying in and called a foul on Davon Reed and put Chasen Randall, who played at Stanford, put him on the line. So that would have been nice to win the NIT. But we got to the championship game, and I thought that really helped that group. And then the next year, that team went to the Sweet 16 and was in first place on the last day of the regular season in the ACC. So, yeah, we can. I don't know. Some people think you can't do both. I mean, we're going to be on. We're focusing on the portal and all the stuff that's going on. But this group of guys, the synergy that they had this year, I think they were better than the sum of their parts, or the sum of their parts was better than the individual pieces. They deserve to play in the postseason, and I think that would be great for our program and great for our. We have a number of returning. I mean, some of these teams we're playing have guys in, 5th and 6th year, 23-year-old guys. We have one or two, but we don't have like a whole team full. We're starting sophomores, freshmen, and nobody's doing that, So I think opportunity to do that stuff would be great for us.
Any further questions for Coach? Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Coach.
guys. Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.